Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and it's here that we actually address on the show various things that you need to be considering as you're running a successful bookkeeping, accounting, and tax business. It's here in the episodes that we actually speak with the experts, finding out what it is we can be doing to actually offer quality accounting services and get paid what we're worth. Each and every week, I have on those experts so that we can explore various things that we need to be considering on a daily basis to become the leaders we need to become. And today's going to be no exception to that. I'm excited for this conversation. It's someone I've been looking forward to having a conversation with. It's Vamsi. Vamsi happens to specialize in exponential growth and creating quantum leaps in ambitious leaders, helping them become the true CEOs of their lives. Over the past 6 years, Vamsi has actually helped hundreds of leaders through various coaching programs under his parent company, Make More Leaders. He coached many executives and leaders from companies like SpaceX, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, JP Morgan, Blue Cross, and many, many more. Vamsi happens to actually not be a typical executive leader, career, or life coach. He specializes in the possibilities that an individual can actually have that they never see in themselves and actually help them achieve the impossible goals, one of which is his strengths to actually help compress the timeliness of achieving those goals in a 10-year plan through various Eastern philosophies that are actually missing in the Western world. Now, there's a greatness in everyone. We're all wanting to be unleashed and achieve our successes. So Vamsi's mission is actually to awaken the leader inside of us. So welcome to the show.
Hey, Roger. Great to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a wonderful conversation. I like things that are outside of the traditional box, and I think that's one of the things that you bring to the equation. So the first thing I'd like to start with is a little bit of a background on your story. Give us a little bit of history as to how you became the expert that you are.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is not like maybe a magic pill that I took it one day and I became this expert. If somebody wanted to break a wall and maybe like they hit with 10 times with a hammer and they said like it's not breaking, and somebody comes and hit 11th time and wall falls down, and some people think like maybe the 11th hit is what caused to wall to just break it down. No, because of all the 10 things that happened. So I'll share like my story like very briefly. I came from born in India, very humble beginnings for a middle class parents, and I spent almost 23 years in the IT industry before starting my coaching business, Roger. This is if you know anyone from India, growing up in India with the middle class parents, you don't have too many options. Your parents already decides who you are. You wanted to be an engineer or a doctor, or maybe in the worst case they say like you're not fit for both. You do whatever you wanted to do. So I happened to choose engineering as my career, and I completed and I went into the IT side, and I was growing fast. I was really climbing the ladder. I came to US almost 20 years ago. Before coming to the States, I spent a couple of years in Singapore, worked there, experienced like a different cultures and different management styles. I felt somewhere in this process there is something more that I can do. There is something more I can offer. And one of my mentor always says this: there are two things that will change your life. One, something new comes into your life, or second one, something new comes out from you. And for me, that that happened both at the same time. So the new thing was I was like a technology guy working on the software, writing programs, and suddenly I got an opportunity to become a management expert in the organization that I was working for. And I was not expecting at all, and something new came to me, and I was super excited, and a lot of people were competing for that. And I said yes, and the very first time I said yes, and my boss asked me to give a keynote speech in front of like maybe all my team members about what I'm going to be doing for the next 12 months in that organization, being a new manager. And I was very excited, at the same time very nervous, prepared for that keynote speech. And that keynote speech did not go well. I completely bombed on the stage. The reason behind, I was expecting only few people in the room, and there are almost like 10 times more people than my mind was thinking about. And that created like a spark in my mind. And that spark was, I think I'm not fit for this. I'm not fit for this management career. I'm not fit for the public speaking. And I went into my boss, and my intention was to share, Roger, you can't believe that. Hey, thank you so much for this opportunity. I wanted to go back to my old role that I was very comfortable with. I heard something from him that completely changed my mind. He said, Vamsi, you did pretty well yesterday on the stage. Without me telling anything, that was the first compliment I received from him. And that almost like I felt like a slap on my face. From that conversation, I came out and decided somebody believed me more than I believed on myself. And that moment, I started investing into my personal growth. That moment, this was almost like a 12, 13 years, 14 years ago. And that moment, I realized that I think like if I just keep like maybe going in this direction, I think I can achieve so many things.
You
And
know,
that was the trigger point in my journey. Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that because there's a few things that stood out to me from that. First of all, your mentor's advice that the catalyst in life happens to be either an external change or an internal change. That's an obvious statement. I mean, that's clearly something that is pretty benign. But really, if you take it and make it a lot deeper, you have to understand that although the change may be coming from the exterior or from the interior, it's whether or not we embrace the change and actually take it and run with it, because there's a lot of things that happen in our lives that could be catalysts for change, but if we don't accept them, whether they're internal or external, nothing happens. And that brings me to the second point that I felt that you actually illustrated, is the power of self-doubt. You had self-doubt as you were actually there presenting and speaking, thinking that you weren't doing a great job, that this wasn't for you because it was outside of your comfort zone. And so sometimes we actually self-sabotage, and all of a sudden what we do is we go back and revert back to what's comfortable and familiar. And too often that just inhibits our growth. It stifles our ability to become better than we truly are. And those are one of the things that I think we need to realize, is that for growth to occur, we have to be willing to step outside of that comfort and really embrace the change, whether it be internal or external. So I like those talking points that you brought up, simply because I think all of the people listening can relate to when it is that they've changed. Is it something that was internal that was pushing them to actually do something differently? Was it something external that was demanding of them something new? Or was it something that they self-doubted and they were going through this reflection of, am I worthy? Am I deserving? Is this the time? All of those things I think are ones that we can relate to. So I appreciate you sharing. Now, one of the things that's very important here is you really talk about creating the impossible things in business. And sometimes we fail to act. We fail to step outside of our comfort zones. Can you address then the idea of our willingness to do the impossible?
Absolutely, absolutely. Most of the times that we don't get what we want in our life because we all got an addiction. I think 99% of the world fell into this category, addicted to the comfort zone, addicted to whatever that they have. You know what? I'm good here. Why should I move from here? And this is like one simple metaphor, Roger. We can't kill a dinosaur, or maybe we can't kill a lion, or maybe we can't kill a alligator when it is hungry, but we can easily kill an alligator after eating, maybe feeding something to alligator, right? The same thing, we all got like addicted to, you know what, like I'm getting the paycheck, why should I take that risk and step out of my comfort zone? And the moment you step out, there are so many possibilities that are available to us. And yes, it's like a mountain with no top, right? If you are in the current zone, comfort zone, you're running in circle. But if you're climbing up, we can we can achieve anything in our life. For me, like it happened so many times. Little background: back in 90s, I used to work in India. I was 19 years old. I started my career. I used to make about $30 a month, Roger. $30 a month, and that was decent money for a 19-year-old living with the parents. So I used to use that money to fuel my motorbike, use that for like all the little expenses, and very life was pretty good. And one day I felt like this was the millennium new year, back in 2000, uh, New Year's Eve. I was sitting in the beach. My parents home is like very close to the beach, like 2 kilometers from beach. I was there and thinking about it. Is this it? Can I create anything more? At the same time, I heard from very long my friend's friend who just came from Singapore, and he was talking about all the fancy things that are happening in Singapore. And if you are listening this, you never been to Singapore, put that into your wish list. Definitely you will enjoy the place. It's a beautiful country. So I heard all the things, and immediately my mind said, oh, I think I should go to Singapore. And I never had a passport until this point. So somehow, after like a new year, I went to the travel agency. I got the visitor's visa to go to Singapore, and I landed in this country. My first job in Singapore was $3,000. I was making $30 a month to $3,000 a month. It's 100x more because I just stepped out from the zone. I never been before. I have no idea where the country in the world map, and that created like, wow, this is what like. It's not about the money. It's about like the possibilities that I created excited me more, and after that, I created more and more of those things in my life. So the point here is the moment we step out of our zone, always like our edges will expand the moment we give that space for edge to expand,
Yeah,
and many people are not doing it.
the possibilities become new and exciting. So I like the fact that you did take that leap of faith, that challenge. Obviously, in some instances, it's easier when we're younger to kind of break outside of the norm, but nonetheless, you did it, and it opened up a whole new world for you. And that's one of the things that I think is very important. So let's talk about starting a journey like that. What advice do you have for individuals that are starting? Because many of my listeners do consider themselves still in that startup phase. They're still growing. They're still eagerly pursuing setting up what it was they intended to create. And so when you're in that mindset, there's a lot of sacrifice going on, a lot of extra work happening. But what advice do you have for someone that's in that setup or startup mindset?
Absolutely. First of all, have a crystal clear vision, like a moonshot for your life. I would recommend anyone to spend like maybe half a day somewhere where they don't like maybe usually go. Maybe go to a beach, go to local library, go and rent a Airbnb, and spend that day to write down that vision. Where am I going to be 10 years from now? A lot of us like just think about like put the goals for that year, for that quarter, for that month, but not many people they write down the goal for 10 years. Ask yourself, how old am I going to be at that point? So is that like a 50, 60, 40, 35, whatever the age is, and do the reverse engineering. What are the things that you really wanted to achieve at that point? Don't use any current circumstances. The reason I'm insisting on vision, because once you have that vision in your mind, it is automatically the one going to drive you towards achieving that. If you don't have that, if you have a vague vision, you're going to get vague results. Many people, they spend a lot of time for a 2 week vacation to think about it and plan versus like their 10-year life. That's the missing piece. Have a clear vision, so operate from that vision. And the second recommendation, Roger, I would give it to everyone: spend some time with your vision. Just imagine like you got a brand new baby, and you busy being travel, being mom or dad, listening to this, and you don't spend time with the baby. How is the connection with that baby? Baby is not going to be caring about who you are, right? So just imagine the same thing for your vision as well. The moment you start spending some time with that vision, like maybe 30 minutes every week, and just thinking about it. Hey, what did I do this week towards that vision? What else I can do? What can I do if I'm more maybe courageous? And because most of the answers, if not like all of the answers, inside of you, but there are so many layers that we installed, a layer after layer, from like maybe all the way from kindergarten to the moment that where you are. And we need to just like our only responsibilities to take peel off all the layers, so that way you see that power from inside, and you will achieve it. And there are like maybe 10 other things that we can do, but I highly recommend start with the vision. And every morning when you get up, I think you should feel that you are excited to get out to just achieve that target. You need to have that like maybe something really fire in your belly to for that day.
I really appreciate you bringing this up, and I didn't expect it because one of the things that I really emphasize is the same thing. And I appreciate the engineering in you coming through because you did speak of reverse engineering your life, your success. And so, just to kind of summarize, it is that vision, that clarity of what it is you're going to ultimately achieve that you're able to reverse engineer and determine here's what I need to do in order to achieve this or accomplish this. And as you backwards engineer all these things, you're able to figure out the timeline that's necessary. Here are the things I need to accomplish. And more importantly, I think what that clarity brings isn't just the passion that you were speaking of. It definitely keeps you driving towards that, but it also simplifies so many decisions in your life because you're able to now decide, is this choice that I have before me something that's going to help me move closer to that thing I'm trying to achieve? Or is it a distraction, something that's going to take me away from what I'm doing? If you didn't have clarity of purpose, if you didn't know what you're working towards, that choice would be like, oh, why not? Let's give it a try. Let's give it some time. Let's give it some attention. But in reality, when you have clarity as to purpose, that choice is obviously something that's going to distract you from what it is you're ultimately trying to achieve. And that clarity helps you stay on task. It allows you to do the things that matter, the things that matter most, and they help you accelerate what you're trying to achieve simply because you're more clear as to what it is you need to be doing next. So, highly recommend what it is you're describing. Very, very helpful. So, you've now actually experienced quite a bit. Your life coming from India into the business world as you have. You made some decisions, some hard decisions along the way. What are some life lessons that you've actually learned, especially from working with mentors?
Absolutely, absolutely. Taking this back to when I was in corporate, I was doing pretty good, Roger. I shared about my experience failing on the stage, and I started investing into mentors. I got really good with the communication. I became a keynote speaker in the organization, and every time there is something big happens, I used to get invites to speak in front of hundreds of people and thousands of people. And with that, I had an access to my CEO, and somehow all the things that I did maybe indirectly influenced me, them to see I think Vamsi should be in the boardroom, and I became an advisor for my CEO at that point. And I started seeing all the people who are from a very academically strong background. I did not have any of those things on my back, not even any master's degree in the US. So I saw they all wearing masks. They all putting false things in the room, and they're not like the same people outside. But when they come to boardroom, they're acting differently. Somehow I felt this is not right, and I keep investing more into this journey. One evening, I actually I got an invite to attend Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within. This is almost 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've been invested so much into different mentors, but I never saw Tony until this point. So I got excited. I said yes to this 4-day in person in Chicago. I went there and I saw Tony serving people completely from his heart. And I felt wow, this is so good. And after that event, I did a math. And Tony made more money that weekend compared to the billion-dollar company CEO that I was reporting to, multi-billion-dollar company, can make in his entire life. So that is the first step. And the second thing, this person, Tony, always throughout that entire 4 days where he was there, he was in the zone. He was operating from his heart. I saw that the fulfillment, because he already got 700 million at that point. Making 10-20 millions is not going to get that happiness. I felt that his fulfillment coming from serving people, solving somebody else's problems. Whereas I saw opposite on my leaders' faces. They are always maybe missing something. They are there, but they are not really there. So that sparked in my mind. I think, you know what? I'm not going to be becoming that C-level executive. I'm not going to be wasting my energy trying to prove myself in the corporate world, versus I wanted to start serving with what I have. That was the biggest lesson. It's not about a teaching. Sometimes, Roger, all we need is one insight. That one insight can completely change our life. Even though you read 100 books, if you don't get any insight and if you don't act on that, it's no point, right? So reading is not important, but compared to what you are taking action from those readings are more important. So that was one insight from Tony Robbins. And after that, I had an opportunity to spend more on his inner circle. I almost like I walked on a fire for 14, 15 times with the Tony and attended like all of his events across his all the programs.
So there's a few things in there I want to tap into. You initially started by saying that one of the things that caught your attention is that the CEOs in the boardroom were different in that meeting than they were outside. And I'm confused by that statement. I've heard other people say it, and I've had people try and explain it, but it's still unclear to me what's really meant by that. Because many of the people I know, it depends on the setting they're in as to how they are. So when I meet somebody that's at home and they're with their spouse, they act differently than they do perhaps when their children are around. They're different as fathers than they are in the boardroom when they're running a business and making financial decisions. And then they're different perhaps in a social setting, such as a community event, a church social, a party. They are different people in different settings, and that mature individual is able to adapt to the situation. So what is it that you felt was different about those individuals that kind of stood out to you as being a problem or being something that needed attention? What was it that you were noticing that was not genuine, I guess?
Absolutely, absolutely. I felt the burnout in them because I'll give you a simple analogy. This will, I think, like maybe take your audience to the point here, Roger. Just imagine like one old man is searching for something in the in park, and he could not find it. He's been searching there for a couple of minutes, and a lot of other people trying to help him, and nobody was able to find what he was missing. And there is a cop stopped by and asked like, hey, what are you searching here? And he said like, I lost my keys. And cop started searching around, could not find anything. There is one young kid who is walking by and asked the old man, hey, what are you searching for? And the old man said, I lost my keys. And young boy asked an intelligent question, where did you lose your keys? And the old man says, somewhere out there. And immediately everybody turned and asked like, why are you searching here then? Because there is a light here. This is exactly like I saw in the boardroom. A lot of people in the room, they lost keys somewhere and they're trying to find keys in the boardroom, to being very aggressive, being like maybe workaholic, trying to just like maybe prove something. And if you look back in their life, in their family, there are so many things. There is no relation with the fact with the husband or wife. They don't know exactly what's going on with the kid's life. Their health is going really, really like maybe in the opposite direction. They're pretty much like taking all the pills, because I spent a lot of time inside and observed that, is this a life that I want? And is this like maybe the reason that I'm here? So that's like a big thing. A lot of times we all do this. We all try to set the keys somewhere where the light is compared to where they lost. I think like that's what like maybe brought, maybe I don't want to be that kind of a person, or I don't want to be in that environment. There is nothing wrong with them, because nobody told them exactly like how, just like be there. I think like that's my I made that my mission, and helping people to first find that what exactly that they want. And if they want freedom, maybe you're working 70 hours a week on corporate, you can become maybe C-level executive, but freedom is what something you want. I think you may need to start doing something, and you may need to find something, in this case like maybe numbers or maybe accounting, that because you, once you operate there, you don't have to feel like I'm working. Right now this podcast is more like my freedom thing. I'm not even feeling like I'm here. This is like naturally happening to me, and for you also, right? So that's a little rational behind. Hope this landed for you.
All right. So one of the things that I'm taking from that is you're running into people that are frustrated with their current situation and perhaps are venting because of that frustration, that things are not as they wish they would be. And what I'm realizing is that so often people get that frustration simply because they feel like they're out of control. So what I would suggest, or what I'm hearing, is if we can be in a situation where we feel as if we are manifesting what we want, that we want to be successful, we want to be healthy, we want to have great relations. if we're doing that, then we're able to be happy, be present, and more importantly, be more the catalyst for good in those situations rather than being frustrated and venting out of this anxiousness that may come from the fact that you're not liking the situation you're in. Am I responding well to that?
Absolutely, absolutely. You
Okay.
you define what your core values are and keep operating from that space versus like maybe whatever is happening in the outside world. And we all have all the time control to go back to our core values, no matter what is happening. And if you choose operate from our core, I think like a lot of things are going to be going very very fast and smooth.
Well, I can definitely say that when I work with individuals that are frustrated and it stems from the fact that things are in their mind out of control, it's oftentimes a reflection of the fact that they've let things get out of control and they don't basically take the initiative to make things as they hoped or wish they would be. So it's really them realizing that it's their fault. It's them accepting the fact that they are the ones that can make change and more importantly need to make the change because nothing's going to move in the direction they want it unless they make it happen themselves. So yeah, I'm at least hearing that part of it. So you brought up Tony Robbins, and with Tony, the Power Within, obviously he's got a number of programs that he does with individuals. You attended the 4-day retreat there in Chicago. I'm just curious, do you recall any takeaways from that experience that really stood out to you, especially from the standpoint of being proactive in life?
Just start seeing things differently. That was the first time I attended Tony, and I attended off almost like 14, 15 events after that, Roger. So one day I was attending Tony Robbins, I think Date with Destiny. That was a 5-day or maybe 6-day event, and coming back, and during that time, I wrote it down a letter to myself. I'm going to be quitting my corporate by end of this year, and I'm the only one making bread and butter at home. A lot of things like unknown at that point, but somehow I felt like, you know what, I'm just giving myself next 3-4 months to settle everything, and by December 31st I'm going to be gone from the corporate, saying goodbye. And that clarity, I got it just like surrendering myself with the people during that time. I think like, we become who we associate with. If you surrender yourself with like a 5 people who are entrepreneurs who are doing big, and you become the 6th person easily. And opposite is true, some 5 people who are always like talking about the World War III or maybe something going to happen. And you know what? We almost like get into the depression like 5 other people. So that's I think like a big shift in my mind, and yeah, that helped me to create the big change in my life.
Yeah, and your comment about we become those that we associate with, I completely agree with that. I've seen that numerous times, and I am very, very mindful of who it is I spend my time with because of that. So let's talk about opportunities and challenges. I know that one of the things that you talk about is the idea of slowing down. How does slowing down relate to opportunities and challenges?
Yeah, 100%. We all almost like traveling at 100 miles an hour speed on our careers in our fields, and that is like not helping us to grow from the current level. If you look at the video game, Roger, every level that we go into in the beginning, we are going to face so many challenges, so many like maybe hurdles, right? It's a life is like a video game, business is like a video game. And if you're going fast, I think you're going to be missing opportunities, and many people are feeling burnout because they're going super fast. This is something that I learned from Dan Sullivan is one of my mentors, strategic coach. He's also a mentor for many entrepreneurs in this world. He always says that you need to have free days in your life. During the free days, you completely like a go on silence. Like you don't think about business, you don't think about opportunities, you don't think about anything. This is almost like a reminder for all of us why school district put 5 miles an hour inside the school. Because if you're going at like a 30, 40, maybe 50 miles, you don't see anything. If you're going at 5 miles hour speed, it's impossible not to see the things. The same applicable here. Slowing down, you see so many things. How am I doing with my relation with my kid? How am I doing with my husband or wife, with my parents, with my finances, with my all those things will come close like to your mind the moment you slow down. And that's I think like a big lesson I paid like maybe almost several five figures for to learn that from a couple of mentors in this journey. But it's so simple and it's so common sense, but in real life, common sense is not a common practice.
Very true. Yeah, the way I've actually used this is the idea of being present. If I find myself being too rushed where I can't enjoy the moment, then I recognize that there's too much going on in my life. There's something that's distracting me from being present. And so I'm very much a proponent of just kind of listening to yourself. And are you at a state where you're able to enjoy just those moments that are taking place around you? And if you're not, then that's the alarm, that red flag, if you will, saying there's something that needs attention, because until you can address this and resolve this, you're not going to be able to enjoy the moment. And so I actually take what you just shared as it relates to slowing down and kind of add that to it. Now, one of the things that I also wanted to mention is you're very much a proponent of starting before you're ready. I know that that's something that you speak of quite a bit. Starting before you're ready is, I think, something that a lot of us are challenged with, especially when we have that inclination to be kind of experts, or we want to make sure everything's done right. So let's talk for a moment about this whole idea of starting before you're ready. What does that really mean?
Sure. So most of us got like a PhD or maybe multiple PhD on this topic. Like, you know what? I'll start it after I'm perfect. After like maybe I'm completing this program, after reading this book or going through this like entire thing, right? So I ask this question to all of my clients, like how many days we have in a week. What do you say, Roger? How many days we have in a week?
Well, technically there's 7 days in a week, so I can't have 8.
Right, but unfortunately we all have 8 days in week. The 7 days are like all the 7 days that we have. The eighth day is the special day. We call it someday. I'll do it someday. I'll do it after my kids go to school. I'll do it after my kids graduate from the school. I'll do it like after having $1 million in my bank account. I'll do it after getting my PhD from this university or something. That someday is costing us all the things. You know, the most expensive place in the world. A lot of people say Dubai, maybe London, maybe New York, Tokyo, but the most expensive place in the world is graveyard. All the dreams that you are putting on someday is going there, because that someday is never comes to you. And that's the reason, like, you start something right away. You don't have to have clarity about what you're going to be doing like maybe 20 miles from now. You just need to have clarity. Where are your car keys and where is the car? Once you get into the car, you know exactly the next 20 feet, maybe next 50 feet, and go from there to the next point, to the next point. And life is all about experiments, Roger. This is how I take it. Every experiment, we are going to be winning something big, something like maybe in the material wise or maybe in experience wise. And if you're getting experiences, we are getting really uh, good. Thomas Edison, like, its ultimate quote, right? So I did not fail 10,000 times. I learned how not to do things 10,000 times. It's the same for us, whether you're starting a business. You start something, just like make tomorrow is your first day on that business, and the day after is second day, and you get it. Maybe create a logo, or maybe create your first paper, write down that like maybe first proposal, or talk to the first client, maybe a prospect. So that way we are going to be making progress.
I really appreciate how you're sharing this, because one of the things that I think happens is we so often have this conversation about beginning with the end in mind, presuming that the clarity of the ending is meant to give clarity throughout the entire process. What it is it's about the destination. It's about what it is we're going, but it's not about the journey that we're defining. So, for example, if I knew that I wanted to go to Disneyland, I could obviously drive, I could fly, I could walk, I could take a train. The way I travel there is indifferent to my getting there. I want to arrive at Disneyland. So the point is I can just sit back and ask, well, which journey do I want to take? Do I want to drive there? Do I want to fly there? Each takes different times, have a different cost, and all of those things I need to prepare for differently. But once I choose a way, I'm going to drive this time, well, then I can prepare my vehicle, make sure it's got the oil change that it needs, that the tires are good. Well, all of a sudden, I just eventually need to get out there and go. And here's the reason why I share this. I used to teach for a number of years using this principle of when you're wanting to go somewhere, you don't wait for everything to line up perfectly before you actually start or begin. And it kind of complements what you were sharing a moment ago. And the illustration of it basically starts with, I don't leave my subdivision where I live, pull to that side street that gets onto the main thoroughfare, and before I pull out, look down the road and make sure all the intersections are green. I don't wait there until everything is a good go for me to move forward. I'm fine pulling out onto the main street, seeing down the street that there's a red light. That doesn't bother me. I don't get anxious or panicked. I realize that that red light will eventually go green. And if I get to it and it is green, I can obviously proceed on. But when it's red, I'm comfortable to stop and wait a moment because eventually it will turn green. And I don't look down the road and see all the other remaining intersections expressing frustration over that second or third one that's red right now. Maybe it'll be green when I get there. Or if it is red, I'll pause and I'll stop for a moment, take a breath, and move on. But the challenge is in life, realizing that that's how life is. It will have these moments of pause and reflection, of more importantly, just being able to sit back and kind of enjoy the moment and then moving forward. But we don't pull over to the side of the road. We don't turn off the car and throw our arms up in frustration saying, again, another red light. This is what I have to deal with to get where I'm needing to go. No, none of us express that frustration and pull over. We just take our time and continue driving because we know in the end, this too shall pass and we'll be able to arrive at our destination just fine. So I love realizing that even though I know where I'm headed, I'm going the direction I need to, it's not going to be just a thoroughfare without any obstacles. And so that's one of the things that I really do kind of share when I'm talking about this. Is there anything you would add to that?
Absolutely. I love the way that you put it together. Uh, we don't have to know 17 things that has to happen between now and the finish line. But only thing is like, this is what I want and keep going. If something not working, change your approach, but don't change the destination. A lot of people, because like maybe after one or two fails, maybe one or two obstacles, people will change. You know what? It's not working out. Really? There are like 100 different ways that you can go and do that. Did you ask help? Because there is someone who already created what you wanted to create. And the moment you raise your hand, people are ready to show up. And most of the time, like maybe, it's a who, not how approach. People spend too much time on how can I get it versus who is someone can help me there. So yeah, just wanted to do that. And I want to give a tool for all of your audience that I share with my clients, Roger, is I call it like a 4 force rule. So if you really wanted to start something, in this case, like maybe all of your audience wanted to start their accounting business and something related to whatever that you wanted to do, give yourself 4 hours first. In that 4 hours, just spend some time writing it down. What is that something you wanted to create, right? You are just like about to start something. Those 4 hours will give clarity. And after that, you feel excited. Give next 4 days on working on that. Just 4 days. In those 4 days, you will get like a more momentum. If that 4 days like giving you a lot of happiness, give yourself next 4 weeks. And the next 4 weeks, you create something meaningful that you can ship. Maybe you can write a proposal, you can do this. And if those 4 weeks giving you like excitement, then dedicate yourself for the next 4 months and say like, I'm not going to be listening to anyone. I'm going to be just locking myself for the next 4 months. I wanted to just go all in these 4 months. But after four hours, you feel like, you know what, like I don't want to do this. All you lost was like just 4 hours. That's it. And many people, they put like maybe a lot of things cart before the horse and just like maybe do websites and all the unnecessary stuff. You start opposite way. Just like with start something, start before you're ready. And this 4444 thing, you will really, really see so much clarity, so much progress, and you'll achieve so many things before so many people are trying for someday.
I really appreciate that example, the 444. 4 is a great example of just taking things in bite-sized pieces. And I'll give an example of that with the podcast. I knew that I wasn't going to start the podcast until I had clarity as to a number of things related to what the show would actually be. And so I did start out similar to what you were explaining of, can I articulate well what the show is meant to be? And only once I could do that could I then get the guests I wanted, simply because it was clear what the show was meant to accomplish. But I committed to doing the show for a year, not for 4 months or 4 weeks, but for a year. And it was interesting. Before the year was over, at about the 8th or 9th month, I had to decide, am I going to continue? Because we were recording at that point the last episode for that first year. So it was in the queue. And it was interesting because I thought I would have 12 months to give this a try. And I gave it a go. And at about the 8-month period, I had to consider, am I going to continue with this? Now, clearly, I've been doing this for 4 years now. It's been going wonderfully well. But it began, as you were in essence describing, this whole 4, 4, 4, 4. I'm taking back that assessment and committing 4 hours, then 4 days, then 4 weeks, then 4 months. And it's bite-sized pieces like that that make this realistic and achievable. But along the way, if it's not working out, hey, I'm just 4 days into this. I'm just 4 weeks into this. And it has that definitive, okay, let's stop, let's assess, let's readjust, let's make some changes here if necessary. But I like that. That was very good advice. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap some things up here and come back to you for a closing thought, because I think this has been a very helpful conversation. So let me kind of just summarize what we've been discussing. But before I do that, share with everyone listening an invite that actually Vamsi has for us. You can go to his LinkedIn profile found in the episode description and connect with him. Vamsi is actually offering to connect and communicate with us. So if you'd like to, you can direct message him and get some insights as to what things are maybe on your mind as it relates to starting and building your business, and see what insights he may have for you as it may actually apply to your mindset, or more importantly, things that you're trying to accomplish as it relates to starting your business or building your company. Now, in that context, I also want to encourage you with the episode description to go there and get the turnkey business plan. It is the turnkey business plan for accounting professionals. It is intentionally those things that you need to be working on to start and build a successful business. In fact, the premier accounting firm in your area. And I also invite you to get the book Red to Black. It is the cash flow guide book that you need to basically offer to your clients the premier services that are necessary as it relates to the most common challenge that business owners face, which is cash flow. And then complementing that is the book In the Black. It's the 9 principles to make your business profitable. Get those ebooks, and more importantly, apply these principles so that you can in fact have a thriving business offering quality accounting services, and most importantly, getting paid what you're worth. Now, as a summary of our conversation today, there are a lot of things that really stood out to me, simply because of the fact that, first of all, there is a great history here of him coming from India, making $30 a month, and then moving over to Singapore and making obviously the $3,000 a month. It's just what's possible when we actually step outside of our comfort zones. Those things, I think, are really an illustration of some of the things that we can achieve when we let go of that status quo that we're familiar with and try something new. And we talked about challenges, how change would either come internally or externally. And it's recognizing, as obvious a statement as that is, it's very true only if we accept that change, if we act on that change. And one of the things that oftentimes will hold us back is the self-doubt. It's that inner voice that sometimes creeps in and says that we're not worthy, not deserving, we're not ready. And it's letting go of that and realizing that we can, in fact, embrace change. But to do this, one of the things that he spoke of happens to be having clarity, reverse engineering the direction in which we want to go. Having that purpose in mind really helps make the decisions along the way a lot easier. And so it's recognizing that if we can take and actually work on who we are, who we want to be, our business, our individual selves, we'll actually be true to ourselves, be genuine, but at the same time work towards that very thing that matters most. And it helps us make the decisions along the way and not get off on tangent tracks. But the thing that really culminated all of this was this 4-4 principle. It's spending that 4 hours on your business, your personal side of things, and defining what is your legacy, personally, professionally, getting clarity as to what it is you want to work on and achieve, and then committing 4 days to that, 4 weeks to that, 4 months to that, and really seeing along the way as you reassess, is this working out as you want? But more importantly, are you going the direction you want to be in? It's not a race. It's basically something that you get to live, and it's having clarity as to the destination and enjoying that journey. So many little highlights from all this. So Vamsi, I want to come to you and ask, what closing thought would you add?
Absolutely. First of all, great recap, Roger. I really, really appreciate you putting all the things that we discussed over the last maybe 45 minutes and recapping it so well. Appreciate that. I think like one final remark that I wanted to give it to everyone, all of your audience, is if you're chasing two rabbits, you know what? I think it's very tough to catch either. So focus on one thing and just go all in that direction. So that way you are going to be creating some big thing in your life, in your business, in your industry. And yeah, just give yourself some time for that one thing. And that's how you're going to be achieving anything. Be like a postal stamp and stick with that one thing. It could be accounting, it could be technology, it could be coaching, or maybe writing a book, whatever that you choose. And finally, I wanted to say, hey, my name is Vamsi. It was such an honor to record with Roger on an episode of Building the Premier Accounting Firm. We discussed like so many insights. I would like everyone to just take one insight from this episode and apply that in your personal life and reach out to Roger and just like say how that changed everything, uh, everything in your life. Grateful for this opportunity, Roger.
It was a pleasure. No, it was great having you on the show, and I appreciated these insights. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to now wrap this up by, first of all, inviting you, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the podcast. Definitely set your notifications so that each and every week you get notified as to each episode as it is coming out. And then also, I want to invite you to go to universalaccounting.com, and in the navigation, find the podcast section where we've compiled a number of highlights, basically playlists of various episodes as it relates to topics that matter most to you in your current situation, whether you're in the state of growing your business and need to focus on marketing, selling, pricing. Perhaps it's in a position where you're needing to address staff issues, tech stacks. Maybe it's onboarding clients, client retention. Perhaps it's even mental health. Go listen to the playlist that we've compiled of the experts and what it is that they're sharing that we need to consider as we're working on our business. So I invite you to do that and go binge listen those things that are mattering most to your current needs. And then the other thing I want to do is invite you to GrowCon. If you have not yet registered to attend, I invite you to join us for GrowCon. It's an annual conference. It is intended to be for the owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. It's here that we hear from the experts, those various individuals that have very specific advice as to what we need to be doing today as we work on our business. It's also there that you get to meet your peers, those individuals like you that are growing their businesses. It's where you make friendships, collaborate, take care of things that matter most as it relates to personal and professional needs. And then also you get to meet your team, those people at Universal Accounting that are committed to helping you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself with Universal. It's here that this conference is dedicated to helping you step away from and allow you to work on your business. So I invite you to join us and definitely register today for GrowCon. In addition to that, I also want to say that if you have any questions regarding this or any other principles that we've been discussing on the show recently, give us a phone call. You can reach out to us directly by calling us at 801-265-3777, or you can visit us online. Go to universalaccountingschool.com, and always remember this: if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care, have a great day, and be safe out there. Vamsi, that was wonderful.
Amazing.
Here's what I'm going to have you do. I'm going to have you go back to that little promo piece in the chat. I'm going to have you re-record that for me so I have it as a standalone as well.
Sure.
So whenever you're ready, I'm going to have you do that.
Absolutely. Can I start now?
Yes.
Hey, this is Vamsi. It was such an honor to record with Roger on episode of Building the Premier Accounting Firm. We discussed about so many things in this episode. A couple of them: start before you are ready, doing that impossible, and don't chase more than one at any given time. I invite you to listen and join us in this